Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity Center of Davis this wonderful Sunday morning. We're so pleased to welcome Reverend Dave Lyman as our speaker today, and always grateful for the beautiful music of David Prawley. I'm Patricia Wright. I'm a prayer chaplain and president of the Board of Trustees, and I am your technical background person today, trying to do my best to fill that role from Reverend Rich, who is having a very, very well-deserved Sunday off today. And so with that, we're ready to have our opening song. David?
Well, I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road to heaven right now. I'm choosing heaven today. And I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing joy today. I am walking the road to heaven right now, and I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing peace today. I am walking the road to heaven right now, and I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road to heaven right now, and I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road to heaven right now, and I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road to heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today.
And right now, we are going to take this moment to settle in to prayer, to contemplation, to ready ourselves for this service today and for the miraculous day that it is. Despite the smoky conditions, the high temperatures, the viruses, and all of those things that are out there in our world today, we choose to find that love, that peace, that joy, so that despite any of the outer circumstances, we can have that heaven within us today. We bless all of those people that are suffering from any of these worldly issues, and we wish them and see them as whole and healthy and having the opportunity to choose heaven today too. And we are eternally grateful that we have this opportunity to be together and celebrate this day that is today. Amen.
Thanks, John. I've got the helm. So we are very excited to be joining the Unity Worldwide Ministries in the annual World Day of Prayer, and we'll be doing that online on Thursday, September 10th, from 7 to 7:30. And what we'd like you to do, if you choose, is to send people you'd like us to hold in prayer. We'll send those on to Unity Worldwide Ministries for 24 hours, as well as hold these people in prayer, whoever you'd like, during our service on Thursday night. Just send it to info@unitydavis.org. Send the names, and we'll be pleased and joyful to do that. All right, we're looking forward to seeing folks there. So it's my joy and privilege for us as chaplains every month to do the unity affirmations, and this is for September, and so now let's turn to the place inside within us, that sacred and holy place. That's the calm center of being where all is well. We breathe into the spaciousness of spirit as we turn to the place of infinite good. I will say the affirmation once, then invite you to join me in affirming it 2 more times. For inner peace. My mind quiets in the presence of divine peace. Together, my mind quiets in the presence of divine peace. My mind quiets in the presence of divine peace. For wisdom. In the silence of prayer, I hear a whisper of truth. Together, in the silence of prayer, I hear a whisper of truth. In the silence of prayer, I hear a whisper of truth. And for vitality. God is the breath of life, the vitality in my body and being. Together, God is the breath of life, the vitality in my body and being. God is the breath of life, the vitality in my body and being. And prosperity. I am rich in divine ideas, wealthy in divine abundance. Together, I am rich in divine ideas, wealthy in divine abundance. I am rich in divine ideas, wealthy in divine abundance. And faith. The road ahead may be unseen, but I walk by faith and not by sight. Together, the road ahead may be unseen, but I walk by faith and not by sight. The road ahead may be unseen, but I walk by faith and not by sight. Amen. So, prayer is the important and foundational practice of unity. And so if you feel moved to pray and wish to share a gift to pray with others, Reverend Rich and chaplains invite you to consider becoming a prayer chaplain. So what we do is we have training and ongoing support. So this is something that anyone who would like to build their prayer consciousness and experience that with others and consider being a full chaplain, consider being a chaplain, please just send an email to Reverend Rich and we can follow up with you. And you can ask questions or call them and ask questions. So we appreciate your thinking of that. So right now, take into your mind and heart anyone for whom you'd like prayer. And you can say their name out loud or in silence in your hearts, and we will have prayer for others. It's an important part of our unity practice.
Jody.
So we'll take into our hearts and minds all children, God's children, and those who might be affected by the virus, who have lost loved ones, and we envision them healing and using all experiences to grow and receive divine ideas for solutions where none have been apparent. We envision the citizens of our country and the world following paths of harmony and oneness. We see harmony unfolding in reconciliation, renewal, peace, and unity. So together, let's give them all our blessing. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold God's love as you. Amen. And now let's prepare for meditation.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
So as those words resonate, let us all take a deep breath and settle into right where we are. Knowing that even though we are physically in different locations, we are in truth in one heart. As we breathe in the spirit of light. Connecting to that heartbeat within us, which is the heartbeat of God. As we breathe out, we let go of anything that is ready to be let go. Knowing we don't even need to know what it is. Today, as we drift deeper within to this place of deep spiritual connection, we do so in a meeting set up by the internet. As we breathe and drift deeper, allow yourself to connect in a deeper way with the internet of spirit. knowing at this very moment as you connect with that divine thread, there is in Sacramento a Presbyterian church preparing to sing a hymn in a sanctuary with very few people. And in that sanctuary, there are seats that people have sat in for 30 years every Sunday, worshiping the divine within them. That divine thread that is connected to us. And as we breathe deeper, we connect with a temple in Punjab region of India, where the Sikhs are meeting and singing sacred music, and a mosque in northern Sacramento, where they have gathered together to pray. And a dusty village deep in Africa where two Mormon missionaries are doing a prayer service, a testimony meeting to state their love of spirit, of the divine that we are and they are. And this thread connects us all. Take a breath. And for just a moment, take a breath, and we'll sit in quiet for a moment, because this thread connects so much of this world in so many different ways, at the very base of who we are, the divine. And so we sit for a moment in the quiet. And as we take a deep breath, we realize this is the balance and strength and stability of this world in the midst of the chaos. This thread of the divine being worshiped all over the world in different ways. And we give thanks for that. Thanks for all religions that are love-based, that we can participate in that we can participate this day, face to face, well, each in our own location. So as we take a deep breath, we start to come back into the room, come back to the Zoom faces of friends and heart connection. With each breath, we allow the energy to grow within us, to grow deeper and deeper, to come back into the room, knowing that we have touched this place. And in a way, just in the touching with that thread, we have refueled in a deeper way. So that somewhere in a country far away, someone has taken a breath and gone, ooh, I felt that. And so as we get to a point where it's time, we allow ourselves to just go ahead and open our eyes and come back and see the eyes of the divine in all the screens all around, and give thanks, saying, thank you, God. And so it is. And so it is. Mr. Trolley?
power of now is always present, nowhere to be. Then where you are, the power of now flows oh so gracefully. The power of now is always perfect, nothing to be. Then who you are, the power of now flows oh so easily. Be willing to let go of everything you think you need to know. Be strong enough to let go of everything you think you need to control, for everything goes away. Let everything wash away. The power of now. The power of now is ever flowing, connecting us all to the one. The power of now unfolds so peacefully. Be willing to let go of everything you think you need to know. Be strong enough to let go of everything you think you need to control, for everything goes away. Let everything wash away. The power of now. The power of now. The power of now. The power of now.
Thank you, David. And David Morse, hold off on that first slide for me. Back in the 70s, there was a women's gymnastics team that was pretty amazing from the United States. And when they went into a city, they would do a thing called power shopping, where they would only have a couple hours and they would, in essence, almost invade a shopping mall and do great quantities of shopping in a very short period of time. Today is going to be a power sermon. We're going to do a whole lot today. So get your seatbelts ready. And for those of you that take notes, I want you to know this is the first of a 3-part series, and there's going to be a packet that you will have at the end of the series. So you really don't need to take any copious notes if you want to jot some stuff down. I get to talk about one of my passions today, which is interfaith. And David, could you run that first slide? This slide kind of talks about what the real difficulty is and why it has been said until there is peace between religions, there will never be peace on earth. I want you to notice the flags. Yes, they are the same flag. And that's how it goes. Thank you, David. One of my friends is John Fish, and he was president of the Interfaith Council for a long time. John used to say he was Mormon, and he is Mormon, and he said there was one mansion, but there are a lot of doors into it. And every door is a faith tradition entrance, a different faith going home. I'm an interfaith minister, and when I was called to the ministry, I searched far and wide and found a wonderful interfaith minister seminary back in New York. It was started by a priest, a rabbi, and a Course in Miracles teacher in the 1990s. They used to say that they always said when we talked about how they started, they said it often sounds like a joke. A minister, a rabbi, and a Course in Miracles teacher walk into a seminary. And during our first year, each month we would study 2 faith traditions. And we would go through immersion. We would be asked to read that holy book, to attend services of that faith tradition, to talk to people in the faith tradition and interview them, and to practice some of the spiritual practices of the faith tradition. And it was really interesting because at the end of the first year, I thought one of the most interesting things was when we went to the retreat, they asked us, what were you the most comfortable with at the end of that first year? Which tradition was most comfortable for you and which one was most uncomfortable? And I have to tell you, when I finished my first year, that I absolutely fell in love with Buddhism. But I had a lot of issues at first with Islam. Now, since then, I've grown and learned a lot. But I found that as we look at the major faith traditions, there is a commonality also. So we're going to do a 3-part. Today, we're going to go and summarize 8 or 9 of the major faith traditions only on the surface. Next week, we're going to talk about how Charles and Myrtle Fillmore started unity not as a religion, but as a movement. And how Charles took Eastern mysticism and a number of different precepts from other faith traditions to come up with the 5 principles. So we'll get a chance to see where our birth occurred and how we started. But let's start by looking at some of the faith traditions. And of course, I'm going to start off with one that most of us are familiar with. I find in the unity movement, people tell me often that they're a recovering Catholic. And so Christianity is the first one we want to look at. It's one of, and are you ready for this? It's one of the newer religions. And Jesus was a radical rabbi that stepped into that period of time and came up with the fact that everyone was equal. That was such a radical idea. He said there were only 2 great laws of God. I'll let you search those. After the crucifixion, there were a lot of different Christian sects that had small differences in how they worshiped. And eventually, Constantine said, let's all be Catholic. And the religion became the dominant religion. To the point that in the 800s, an emperor walked a mile on his knees because he had offended the Pope. And if he didn't get forgiveness, he would have been deposed as the emperor. It went on till in the mid 1800s, I believe. Martin Luther got tired of some of the abuses that were occurring in the church. And from that sprang an entire group of Christian churches, Methodists and Lutherans and Presbyterians, to the point that in Minnesota, Phil, you'll love this, in the late 1800s, there was a church in Minnesota in a small rural area, and a number of the people in that church went to the World's Fair. When they came back, they talked about this grand new invention called ice, a way to make your food cold all the time. And there were people in the congregation that didn't believe them. So before long, there were two churches across the street from each other. One, the church that believed in ice, and one that didn't. That's how much it spread. Unity is a part of the Christian religions, as are many New Thought churches. Then I want to move to Buddhism, that was started in the 6th century before Christ. The basic precepts are called the three jewels. It is the Buddha, the Dharma, which are the teachings of the Buddha, and the Sangha, which is the community around the Buddha. It's the world's 4th largest religion. There's no central holy book. And there are a lot of different lineages. So a Japanese Buddhist is different than a Tibetan Buddhist. And the Tibetan Buddhists are the ones we know the most from the Dalai Lama. Basically, there are 4 noble truths that are all around suffering. There's a cause for suffering. Suffering exists. There's an end to suffering. And if we do the right things, we can step away from suffering. It's about meditation and study. The Buddhist monks came to Spiritual Life Center years and years ago. And Michael Moran asked one of the monks, because it is about education, what he was studying. The monk said, I'm studying forgiveness. And Michael said, well, how long have you been studying that? The monk looked at him and smiled and said, 35 years. There is a difference in how they approach time. The third tradition I want to look at today is Islam, which was founded in 622 by Muhammad the Prophet, peace upon him, in Mecca. This religion grows about 20% each year, and unfortunately, a lot of what we see is the extremism. There are 5 pillars of Islam. They are Shahadah, a declaration of faith, Salat, which is ritual prayer, 5 times a day, Psalm, which is fasting and self-control during Ramadan, which is a month of fasting, Zakah, which is giving 2.5% to the poor and needy, and charity within your community, and Hajj, which is the pilgrimage to Mecca sometime during your lifetime. Each day is considered a day of service. The primary statement is there is no God, but God and Muhammad the Prophet is his representative. And we often hear there are 3 groups of Muslims, Sunni, Shia, and Sufis, which are the mystics. Years ago, I got a chance to see whirling dervishes, which are the mystics, the Sufis, who will whirl and whirl into a spiritual ecstasy. If they ever come to the community, go see them. They are unbelievable. The next one we want to look at is Judaism. It was established in 2000 BCE with a covenant with Abraham. Much of this is background taken from Houston Smith, one of the great interfaith teachers. who has now passed away. But he used to say that in terms of Judaism, they have always been the underdogs, but they are the chosen ones. And it's very interesting because they are waiting for the prophet to come. Their sacred text is the Torah. Their holy day is Shabbat, which starts on Friday with dinner, goes for 24 hours. Prayer is done with groups. And again, there are the mystics who do everything ritually. And so they have prayers around washing your hands, getting up in the morning. As we move quickly, and this is just surface, the Hindus, they're considered the oldest religion. They were started 3,000 years before Christ. No individual founders. And their spectrum is around karma, dharma, and society norms. Their sacred text is the Bhagavad Gita, and it's the third largest religion in the world. They have daily practices around the divine. They hold festivals of celebration and remembrance. Rachel and I went to Bali years ago, which is a Hindu majority. And what was interesting for us is they had, when we got a tour driver for the day, we walked around his van to get in, and there on the front bumper was a shrine with food and offerings for the gods. And then when we went to a place where there were a number of shops, all the shops had shrines in front of them. When we study them, they have events like Diwali, which is a Hindu event. And it has 7 days where they each day look at a different thing. So on Diwali, one of the days is set up for siblings to honor each other. One of the things is a rangoli, which is a chalk and sand art done in entrances for the gods. Then we move on to Sikhism. And as I said, these seatbelts need to be tight because we're moving quick. Sikhism was founded in 1469, and it was founded by Guru Nanak, the first of 10 gurus. There are only 10. And what was really interesting is the 10th is Guru Granth Sahib, their holy Bible. And so it is a living object. There's no particular worship day, but when they worship, their holy book is in the center of the room, higher than everyone else. All of their music are verses taken from the holy book. When I first went to a Sikh event, it was for a celebration of life. And when we went as representatives of Spiritual Life Center, the man who was the president for the temple said, "You need to know there is no time limit on our services. So if you need to go, please do so, because our service may last another hour and it may last well into the afternoon." That was amazing to us. They are underdogs in terms of any time through the history of the Sikhs, if there is an underdog to fight for, they do so. And they have a really interesting thing, which is if you go to any kind of an event at a Sikh temple, you will be fed. It is almost a sacrament called the langar, the community meal. Years ago, we went to the World Parliament of Religions, 12,000 people. And every day, the Sikhs provided a vegetarian lunch for all 12,000. In the Punjab region, where they came from, they feed 500,000 people a day. And what was really interesting for me is when I went to the temple and we started talking about it, I said, well, how do you work with the homeless and feeding them? Don't they, line up? And he didn't understand the question. He said, David, we just feed whoever shows up. That is ours to do. So they don't see homeless or home, or they just feed whoever shows up. There are some others that we don't always hear so much about, like Taoism, which is the word of Tao, Laozi. And it's interesting because the Tao is that which cannot be spoken of. And yet it is a study about purification. There's Confucianism, which is a set of people who are not only followers of Confucius and the sayings of Confucius, but they are also Buddhist or Taoists or Hindus. Now, at the very end of this, I want to make sure we talk about a couple. In Sacramento region, there are some that are very, very active. The Baha'is are very active in Sacramento. The founder was Baha'u'llah, who was born in 1917. And the faith is about healing the world. They have no temples. They meet in homes. And their one purpose is to serve humanity. In the Sacramento region, there are 24 different locations they meet. And they believe in a spirit of transformation. We also don't want to miss out on the earth-based religions, which are the ones that started out as matriarch-driven. I have a friend that is a goddess, and she said, once the patriarchs took over, all things went to hell. She said, the goddesses know how to do it because everything is sacred in an earth-based religion. Again, at the Parliament, we went a day early. And they had an Indigenous day. We were in a room with about 500 people, and the room was led by a group called the Grandmothers, Indigenous people from all over the world. And this group of grandmothers, elders, was led by a woman in her 90s from New Zealand, who was going around the world with her grandson as her caretaker. But I have to tell you, she was the leader. She took that room and filled it with passion. And finally, I want to mention the Brahma Kumaris, which is a group that is around meditation. They started in Pakistan, were started by 9 women, number almost 1 million followers, and there's a very active group in Sacramento. If you're ever interested, you can get on their website, and they are always having events that they love people to come to. Now, I want you to realize all we've done is taken the pond of interfaith and thrown a rock across, skipping the top of it. I've been an interfaith minister for 15 years, and I'm just touching into it. It's a personal journey for each of us. It's part of Gandhi saying, a study of the world's religion is a good thing to do. It's about finding out that as I move along, I may find a faith practice from another religion and love it, and I do. And this is a perfect time if you are interested, if you are curious, because interfaith was just birthed in the 90s. Prior to that time, it wasn't real politically correct. You believed your religion, just like those that flags that we put up with the different thing. There's a quote, as I said, by Gandhi that says, "A friendly study of the world religions is our study duty." And out of this has grown a group called Interfaith Explorers in Sacramento. In 2010, Interfaith Explorers put on a program where they had interfaith experiences. And an interfaith experience at that time would be a night with an interfaith leader, a meal reflective of the faith, an exhibit of that faith, a ritual of that faith. And the faith leader would come in with a number of questions that he had been asked to answer. The interest was so high, we had over 100 people each experience. And 2014 and 15 in Sacramento at Spiritual Life Center, we had Interfaith Connection, which was the same type of thing, where we got together to study. And we did field trips with Interfaith Explorers, going to all sorts of places, mosques, synagogues. We went to a Serbian Orthodox church filled with icons painted on the roof, the ceilings, the walls. And during those field trips, we had 35 or 40 people. The reason I mention them is the Interfaith Explorers now, during this time of not being able to get together physically, are still acting as a group, a database. So if you get to the point that you are curious, they are a place that shares events and different things that are occurring in the interfaith community. So you may find out that there are some virtual classes at the Lion's Roar Dharma, which is a Dharma in Midtown Sacramento that does a lot of activity. Or you might find out Salam is doing something. So it's for you to explore that. It's critical that we learn about each other, but it's a choice. If you are interested, just on chat before the end of the service, put your email and we'll connect it with Rachel, who happens to be working with the Interfaith Explorers intimately. I am putting together for this 3-part series an interfaith package that will have faith tradition cards with the tradition of that faith, the Holy Book, all of the background, plus a reading list for each faith, and finally a list of the communities in Sacramento. I will be putting that electronically to Rich Carlini, so you'll be able to get it from him, but it's going to be a little while because I'm right in the midst of putting it together. Next week, we're going to look at unity and how it got to be what it is. Because this is about building bridges. And Charles Fillmore did a great job of that. The reason we do this is best shown in an example. The Interfaith Explorers had a visit to the Salam, which is a mosque. And afterwards, one of the people that attended contacted us and said, I wanted to thank you because when I went, all I had was that Muslims are people that blow up buildings. And I was really nervous about going there. She said, I found out they're just like us. And he said, and now, because he did it like 6 months later, I have friends that are Muslims. And I learn every day and realize how selfish I can be by objectifying them. He said, so thank you. And I do also have to say, since that date, anytime we have a field trip, he goes because he wants to see who we're going to visit next. Interfaith is a passion. The thing that I have discovered is that we all have a commonality. And that will be the third, which will probably occur at the start of the year, where we will do one more sermon that will be, here's the major religions and their feelings about love, about the afterlife, because there is so much similarity. It is unbelievable. There are many doors to that mansion, but a lot of the doors have some of the same codes to get in. And it feeds and speaks to the truth that when we see a face before us, it is the face of God, just as David sang. It is the face of God. And so we have careened along at a dizzying speed. I hope your seatbelts were tight. I find that every time I do this, even when I've practiced, I am now really tired. And we've just touched the surface. Thanks for your time, and so it is. It's all yours, Patricia.
Thank you so much, Dave, for reminding us of our similarities with all religions of the world and reminding us that there are many, many paths to one God. And now it is time in our service. I'm going to give John a minute to get our slide up to remind everyone that they do have the opportunity to give to Unity Center of Davis. And if you wish to do that electronically, you can do so by visiting our website and clicking on the Donate Here button or Donate Now. We are in transition to our new website, so it's possible that on your particular browser, when you sign on, you may get a link to our new website, and it too has a donate button. It'll just look a little bit different, but if you happen to get to that site and have any trouble, if you'd let me know, I'd appreciate it. But you can always mail in a contribution and continue to support this wonderful ministry that brings so many new ways of thinking and being in this world. And so now, if you'll all join me, I will attempt to unmute us all and we can say our offertory blessing together. Let me see if I can do that. Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. So let's just say it together in silence on the screen. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
if you'll all join us in the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. The presence of God watches over us. I am that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.